Hi there and welcome back to my channel. My name is Alexandra from Sesala Design, and in today's video I want to share with you how you can make an easy to wear summer top. First of all, I love this gingham pattern. It's already been popular for quite some years and I wanted to make my own version, so I made a top. I went with the top because I have already made a lot of dresses and skirts lately and I wanted to diversify a little. So let's see what you need to make this top. 1 meter of fabric, 5 meters of bias tape, and between 8 and 10 eyelets to close the top. The pattern that I used for this top is my regular pattern with only a waist dart and squared neckline. I folded the fabric in two, placed the pattern, and started to trace it. I cut the front part of the bodice, I drew the waist dart, and I transferred on the other side. I started to cut the back part of the top, for which I used the back of the same pattern. But instead of copying all, I only copied half of it. I drew the darts and pinned them. Next was the bottom ruffle. I folded the fabric 2 times to form this triangle shape. I used the full skirts formula to calculate where to cut my ruffle. If you want to check how I made it, you can check out my 2 skirt long video. I measured how long I want it to be, I cut it, and open one side. The next part was the sleeves. I self-draft the sleeves. I measure how long and wide I want it to be, and I drew them. Getting to the sewing part. I pin and sew the front and back darts. Press it. I pin and sew the sides. Next, I had to make the back straps, and I cut 2 pieces for it. I sewed the shoulder stitches. I cut all the extra fabric. And I use my serger to clean all the edges. The next part was to finish the cleavage with a bias tape. I cut and pinned it to the fabric. And I sew it. I cut the extra bias tape. And I trim the edge because I will fold the bias tape. I use my iron to press it to make it easier to sew it. I sew it the first time very close to the edge, almost like an underlining stitch. I fold it, pin it and sew it, being careful at the corners. The following part was the sleeves. I use my serger for the edges and I made the hem. I press it and I gather the fabric. Next, I started to pin them to the straps. And I sew it. I use the bias tape again. I pin to the back straps and front bodies. For the back of the bodies, I kept it open. I sew it. Next, I just sew the first part of the strap because I intended to sew it on the back, and after cover it with the remaining bias tape. So again, I double stitch it. The next step was to measure the back strap. And to sew it to the back bodies. Now I could cover it with the bias tape and sew it. Moving on to the ruffle. The first step was to clean the edges for this ruffle. Second, I start with attaching the ruffle to the body. Moving to the final details, finishing the back of the bodies. I cut 2 rectangular pieces of fabric to cover the back. And because I didn't think it through, I had to open the bias tapes a little, just 3 or 4 centimeters on each side. After that, I pin the rectangular shapes that I just cut and I sew it. Next, I did an underlining stitch on top of it. I've also decided to finish with my serger the waist edge. I folded the rectangular shape in 2 and I sew it at the top. I trim the corner a little and turn it inside out. I trimmed and placed the bias tape and I sew it. Next, I arrange the extra fabric and I pin it to sew it. I sew it one more time with the recently opened bias tape. After I finish both parts, I could also make the hem of the top. final step, putting the eyelets. I measure where I want my eyelets to be, I mark it, and I made small holes for them. And place them following the instructions provided. I repeated the same process for each eyelet. Time to show you how it went. Since it's summer and the weather is lovely, I went to the old town to take pictures with this top. I styled it with a denim skirt and a small red bag, and I love how the outfit looks casual and very chic. And that's it this week. I hope that you enjoyed today's video, and if you have any questions or advice, as usual, my comment section is open. Don't forget to subscribe, give me a thumbs up, and share if you learned something new you enjoy. Until next time, let's find inspiration.